Welcome to the Say It Out Loud podcast. I'm your host, Vasavi Kumar. If you're eager to gain clarity, speak with unwavering confidence, and liberate those inner voices, you're in the perfect spot. My mission here is to empower you to break free, find fulfillment, and ignite your passion. You ready? It's time to say it out loud. I've put together a guide of my top 10 tested and proven to work practical strategies and habits to help bright women like you say no, set your boundaries right, live confidently, and build healthy relationships, starting with the relationship you have with yourself. This is a self-paced guide, and I can't wait for you to dig into it so you can start becoming your most confident self, because she's in there waiting for you. Head to the link in my show notes or go to vasavikumar.com/guide and grab it today. Welcome back to another episode of the Say It Out Loud podcast. It's me, Vasavi. I am geeking out so hard over here because I am so excited to introduce you to my next guest, Amie Mcnee. She is an author, creativity mentor, and the mind behind the brand new book, We Need Your Art, a heartfelt call to arms for artists and dreamers everywhere. Through her popular online presence, Inspired to Write on Instagram, Amie has spent years demystifying the creative process and championing the importance of daily artistic practice. Her relatable approach to overcoming self-doubt and perfectionism has helped thousands, including myself, unlock their imaginative potential. So Amie, thank you so much for being here. I'm honored.
Truly, I cannot tell you. I am so excited to dive into this conversation. It is an honor and a privilege to be in your space with your people, and I'm just very grateful.
Thank you. Well, I want to start off by saying this. When I first came across your work on Instagram and I saw you putting out stuff saying like, we need your art, keep making your art, even if it's messy, even if you're not getting likes, I thought to myself, like, I'm not an artist. Like I was thinking that to myself. I'm like, oh, this doesn't relate to me. I'm not an artist. But then I started thinking about my business and how I run my business. And I'm like, wait a minute, what if my business is art? What if me putting in the work in my business, creating my offers, creating this podcast, what if I started viewing it as art? So my first question for you, Amie, is how do you define art?
I define art as anything that we make with the intention to connect.
I love that.
And so, I didn't actually check with you before we started. Am I allowed to swear?
You are allowed to swear. This is the Say It
Okay,
Out Loud
great.
podcast. Yes.
Oh, very true. Your business is a fucking piece of art. And you are an artist. And for me, it has been hard trying to get people to understand that I'm addressing them when I say that. When I say artist, when I say art, I'm talking about you, because we've pedestaled that term and we think it means a certain thing. We think it means that we need a certain skill set or we need to be fine artists. But I really want to reclaim that word. And so if anyone's listening who's like, oh, I'm not an artist, like I bet you I sit you down for 1 second, I have a quick conversation with you, I figure out you are an artist. If you are creating anything, whether it's a business, a podcast, a YouTube channel, whether you just doodle when you're bored, like this is art and this is what I am talking about.
Beautiful. Well, I got to tell you this. I actually ordered a drawing sketch pad and pencils, and I started drawing and I started going on YouTube and looking at tutorials. And I'm like, I'm creating art right now. This is me creating
How
art.
has it been?
It's been weird. It's been very weird for me because I'm so used to monetizing everything that I'm good at. And I'm not good at drawing I'm not there yet. And it's just a weird process for me because it's like, oh, I'm not monetizing this. I'm just doing this for me. Right. So it's a very new place for me to be in. And so I'm curious to know about you. When did you what inspired you to start creating? And when did you start getting into your process of creation?
Great questions. Before I dive into that, I just want to say that I absolutely love that you did that, Wasabi. I think as adults, we're not told that we're allowed to just play, and we're not told that we're allowed to be beginners again. Like adults aren't allowed to suck at stuff, but it is the most beautiful, freeing thing to just start a new craft and see what happens and to do it without expectation. So freeing, so healing. Amazing research around what that does for our bodies and what it does for our minds. Like so exciting. So I just love that you did that. So cool.
Thank you.
So in terms of my journey, I've always felt very driven and called to tell stories, whether that was through acting or literally just telling a good story, like talking or t writing my novels. And it's been a thread throughout my whole life. I was a little bit of a liar when I was little, like one of those kids who just
Hmm.
told the most outrageous stories. I always
Same.
just wanted to play with the truth,
Yeah.
see how we can make it more exciting. And so I think it's been in my blood for a very long time. But I started taking it seriously as I left university, and I found that it was just not acceptable to pursue
Mhm.
creativity in the way I was pursuing creativity. I didn't make a lot of sense. I was seen as a dreamer. I was seen as maybe a little delusional, a bit childlike. And I felt that. I felt those cultural narratives, felt very ashamed for wanting to have a life that was filled with art.
Mhm.
But I pursued it nonetheless, and it was very difficult. I navigated some very hard times, but I'm so grateful for that either very stubborn or very trusting past version of me because
Mm.
I built a life of art. I built a life of creativity, and I absolutely love it.
Beautiful. Well, I'm curious to know, and I'm asking this question for myself, Amie, as someone who runs a business, right? And I know a lot of my listeners are coaches, healers, entrepreneurs, business owners. How do you balance creativity and running a business when your business is your art? Because that's the most challenging part that I know for me personally.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, running a business is an art form. And I like that we're speaking to more of an entrepreneurial crowd here because when I'm speaking to very fine, like fine artists, like say painters,
Hmm.
they see the business part of their jobs to be completely separate from the art.
Yeah.
And I have to convince them that business is an art. But I hope that like you guys understand that what you do is innately creative,
Yeah.
so creative. It's about finding out how to connect with people, how to impact with people. I mean, that is art.
Yes.
Um, and like that means that you're spending your day essentially in an artistic field, like creating. And so I think what you've done with having like another practice that is just playful and is has no expectation is a beautiful way to balance it. Because, I'm a writer now. I write full time. I write fiction and I write nonfiction. And these are my passions and I love them. But they're now my business as well. So I'm putting a huge amount of creative energy into them, into my business. It's exhausting. So I draw as well for fun
Yeah.
and
Yes.
having that element of play, no monetization, just like I'm almost like giving the pens over to like a little like 8-year-old version of me and saying, "Oh my God, we've been working really hard. Do you want to just mess around with some pens?" And I get to have that childlike wonder again. But I think we do need that balance.
So I talk a lot about visibility, right? And I know you talk a lot about visibility in your own way too. Like put yourself out there, put your work out there. Don't worry about the likes, don't worry about the engagement. I want to know from you, what does visibility mean to you as an artist?
Controversially, it means a lot. I think it means a lot to me. And I think this is something I've struggled with for a long time. And I have this very controversial saying and I make it a little piece of art, a little sign. And it says, I make art for the attention. And I think we have a lot of narratives that say when we do this creative work, it should be only for our internal motives.
Mm-hmm.
And we should never be doing it to be seen. That's vain, that's indulgent and selfish and icky. And we really don't like this idea that the artist wants someone's attention. We're repulsed by that almost.
Wow.
But I think it's a narrative that is keeping us very small. And it's also denying our own human nature. Like, of course, I'm creating for attention. I'm human. I want to connect with other people. I want to be seen and understood. And when I write my stories, I'm writing them because I love them, but I'm also writing them to capture you, to delight you, to connect with you. And I want to remove the shame of wanting to be seen. I want to be seen. I want to be seen for who I am. I want to be seen in my magic. I want to be seen for the amazing things I can do. And I want that to be something that we can all say without feeling like you're being egotistical or you're being vain. You're being very human when you admit that you wish to be witnessed.
That is the permission slip that I think we all need because I used to shame myself for wanting to be seen. I wanted my work to be visible. Because I wanted it to impact people, right? Like
Is that a crime?
I believed so deeply in my message and what I'm sharing. And I'm like, no, I want this to be hitting many more people. So thank you for the permission slip that I know you've given me just in the short time that I've been following you. Not, it hasn't been short. It's been like over a year I've been following your work. And I'm just like, yes, there's nothing wrong with me wanting to be seen. But with that comes so much vulnerability, Amie. So how do you handle the vulnerability of sharing your work so publicly?
I'm like a few weeks off this book launch happening. I've done so much public, vulnerable stuff over the last probably month, and I've never actually felt so exposed. I know it's only going to get worse over the next few weeks. And so this is a very poignant question for me right now because I feel very seen. And
Wow.
I feel very, very vulnerable right now. And it is tiring. I think I have measures in which to keep me safe. So after I've shared something particularly vulnerable, say online, I make sure that I'm not monitoring it, like I'm not looking at it, like I'm giving myself space so that I'm not trying to micromanage the response.
Mm,
I make sure that when I share something vulnerable, I know what my intentions were behind it. So that even if someone says, "Hey, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to get attention?" or they've misinterpreted what I'm saying, I know that when I shared it, like I knew where I was coming from. So I can really stand in that truth.
yeah.
And then, I just have like a load of like basically like taking care of myself like a child
Yes.
practices because I think you do feel like a child in these moments
Hmm.
of intense vulnerability. You're just like, oh my God, like, can my mum come pick me up? Like, I'm done. And so, I have a lot of like just really basic, like I have a blanket, I have cups of tea, I have comfort shows, because these are the sort of basic
Yes.
needs that we require when you've just done something that brave.
Yeah.
Reminding my physical body that even though I did something really scary, that I'm actually really safe right now.
This is beautiful. This is literally what I tell my clients. I said, being visible is not just about being seen on the outside. It's about also being safe to be seen, feeling safe to be
Yes.
seen. And it feels like you have so many practices in place for you to have safety within yourself.
I think so many of us, we're so desperate to be seen. And again, let me reiterate, beautiful, human, very normal to want to be seen. But I think then we get to these places where we start wanting to be seen at absolutely any cost. And
Hmm.
we'll give anything, any part of ourselves, and we have no boundaries. And we're sharing so much of ourselves and we've got nothing left for ourselves. And
Hmm.
we do need to be careful. I think it's also important to remember that you do not owe anyone your visibility. Like you can come right back and have days where you are just not seen. Like that is yours to take. And I think because of the culture that we live in, sometimes we think, no, I've got to keep being on social media. Like I know I feel this pressure. I've got to keep being on social media. I've got to, my audience, like they need me. Like, oh, I owe them something. But the reality is that you always need to have the power to say, I'm feeling too exposed. It's time to shut off and just have some time in my own home with myself.
So, what I think we're touching upon here is this pressure to be consistent all the time, right? And I always say this for my neurodivergent clients, we are not wired to be consistent every single day, right? Like you have to find you have to find your rhythm. You have to find
Mm,
your flow. So I'm curious to know for you, what strategies help you stay consistent in your creative practice? On the days that you're like, fuck this, I don't want to do shit. I
mm,
don't want to be an
mm.
artist today. I just want to I don't want to do this, right? Like, what do you do to stay consistent in your practice?
Speaking of, today has been one of those days, I fear, where
Mhm.
I've just been like, I'm done. I'm really struggling at the moment to keep maintain my energy levels. And I also have
Yeah.
ADHD. So I've got a
Mhm.
neurodivergent brain that, is not wired for consistency. But I have these anchors in my life that mean consistency is actually incredibly easy for me.
Beautiful.
And before I talk about my consistency, I want to say that you have to define consistency for yourself. And
Yeah.
consistency does not mean every day. And it
Yeah.
does not mean every day. It doesn't mean every day for me, and it shouldn't mean every day for you. Consistency might look like, 3 days a week, every week. Do you know how much that racks up?
Yes.
Like, consistency is beautiful because it accumulates over time. But
Mhm.
this idea that we need to be constantly available, constantly feeding the algorithm, it is exhausting. We lose all our power and we'll stop enjoying the process.
Mhm.
So we need to define consistency for ourselves. And we also need to recognize that consistency will change. That, consistency 1 month might look like, wow, I really showed up every weekday for 30 minutes a day. And then you have a hectic March and
Yeah.
there's a lot going on, but you're still consistent in your own way because you showed up 2 times a week,
Mhm.
every week for that. So just allowing yourself to undulate wherever you're at. But it's very hard for humans not to beat ourselves up about that stuff. But
Yeah.
make sure that consistency has that flexibility because I think once it gets too rigid, it just becomes almost like the enemy.
Mhm.
Anyway, my consistency is I write 30 minutes a day, basically every day, every weekday.
Yeah.
So it's about 300 words to 500 words. And so even on my very worst days, I can manage 300 shitty words.
Yes.
And because there's no standard requirement, all it has to be is basically it has to be 300 shitty words. That's the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't matter. Like, and I do them as soon as I wake up because that's when my brain functions the best. And then I've won the day. If I want to do more, I can do more. I'm not allowed to do more than 1,000 words because I don't want to burn out. So I've got this like little perfect space of where I can thrive. But for me, very low goals, very small goals, very low expectations, and I'm always a winner.
How do you overcome the days when the motivation is low? You just do the bare minimum.
300 shit words.
That's it.
You should read those words. Like I know you're thinking, oh, maybe like they're actually really they're not good. Like they'll be crap. Or you know, you literally just delete them. And it's just that can take me 10 minutes sometimes, you know, it's just
Yeah.
like blah 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 blah. And you
Yeah.
know what? Some days are so shit that I just won't do them and I'll have to skip that day. And consistency that week may have meant 4 days, not five. Sometimes consistency for me means 3 days, not five. But most of the time I can handle 300 crap words.
And I once had a mentor say this to me, Amie. He was like, your 50% is most people's 100%. So even on
I
those
mean,
days, yeah, it's about the
I
300
see
shitty
you.
words. It's the
Yeah.
300. So I'm like, yes, I have bipolar disorder and ADHD. So I give myself permission to have bare minimum days where if the only thing I can do is brush my teeth that day, that is what I will do because I have those days. So I really love, and I want my audience listening to know, like, even those 300 shitty words are worth it. I mean, how do you
Oh my
feel?
God.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Go ahead.
the basis of my career.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot tell you how many of my books have been written 300 shitty words at a time. And you know what? I come back, I make them less shitty. You know,
Yes.
they're the basis of my work. And there's always a little bit of magic somewhere in the shit pile. But yeah, I love that. And I do want to just like reiterate, like there are some days where I can't do the 300 shitty words. But the thing is because I've built up such a trust in myself. Like I've got an identity as a writer.
Mhm.
I know that if I have even multiple days off in a row, I've not killed my career as an author, you know?
Yeah.
I will be back. And I think for a lot of people, we struggle because if you suddenly skip a day, you don't trust yourself to ever return. And
Yes.
so what we need to do is we need to build a relationship with ourselves and to build an identity within ourselves. That means that we can have shit go so wrong. We can have big mental health episodes and we'll still know that when that passes, we'll be back.
We'll be back. And I love what you're saying about the identity piece, Amie. I remember after I wrote my book, Say It Out Loud, I still hadn't fully claimed my identity as an author. It's still I don't know if you've experienced this with with all the stuff you've written. Like I still didn't fully believe that I was an author. I hadn't claimed the identity of author. In fact, it took me probably about 6 months after the book came out for me to finally feel like I'm an author.
Author is the same as artist. It's pedestaled to such a bizarre elitist status. And it's gross. And I'm so glad that you were able to claim it because if you're writing, like if you're writing books, you're an author. And I need you to claim that title because once you bring that identity in, your actions start changing. The way you relate to yourself starts changing. The way you project changes. But yes, I think artists, there's a history there of like patriarchy and elitism and like it's icky. And we get to reclaim that and rewrite that for ourselves.
Beautiful. Well, I have a few more questions. I have 2 questions from my audience. So let me ask you.
Yay.
Yeah. So I love the fact that you on Instagram, you are inspired to write. So for everyone, go ahead and follow Amie on Instagram. Everything that she posts will make you feel like you are not crazy for wanting to create art. I feel less crazy going on your page. I feel less ashamed of wanting to be seen because of the work that you put out there, Amie. So go ahead, follow Amie on Instagram at Inspired to Write. And I asked my audience what's a question that they have for you. One of them Jason asked, how do you stay inspired to write while inspiring others?
Let's take a quick break.
Having been in therapy since the age of 12, I know firsthand just how powerful the process of finding the right therapist is. Going to therapy and talking things out with my therapist has made me happier, clearer, and most importantly, I have a plan for my mental health. I have tools to be able to communicate with others and also the tools to cope when life gets hard, which it does. So let me ask you a question. Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human who lives in this world who is going through a hard time, therapy can give you tools to approach your life in a very different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with the therapist. There's a link in my description. It's betterhelp, HELP.com/Vasavi. That's betterhelp.com/Vasavi. Clicking that link helps support this podcast, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so you can connect with the therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing out about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. I don't know where I would be without the help of therapy and my therapist, but I do know that life would feel that much harder. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Vasavi. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this podcast.
The only reason why I get to do the work that I get to do is because I am also an artist who struggles. And I can't be handing out advice if I'm not doing the work. And that's a beautifully ironic part of this wonderful career I've stumbled upon, is that I have to be doing my art in order to be able to talk about the creative process. And so Inspired to Write and the content I make there and the thoughts I have about the creative process only come after my creative process. It is only because I write my novels every day that I have these ideas that I get to share on that platform. And so it's almost, I'm not really answering the question properly, but it's because the art comes first.
So before you dole out the advice, before you're consuming art or before you're telling people to go post their art, you have your own creative artistic process that you honor first before you sit there and give out advice. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like every day I post basically every day, or, again, inconsistently consistent.
Yeah.
But the only reason I can do that is because I create every day. So I've sat down. Today I had a weird session of editing a piece of work. I did my half an hour and it was messy and icky. And then afterwards I get to have reflections on that. And then I share something with the creative community. So it's always triggered by my own creative experience. So that's the only reason why I get to inspire others to write, is because I've sat down, and I may not have been inspired to write, but I definitely freaking wrote.
So simply stated, you inspire yourself first.
Yes, that's a beautiful way to put it, Vasavi.
Yes.
Like, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, you inspire yourself first before you inspire others. I absolutely love that, because I can't tell you how many people I talk to that don't feel inspired in their businesses. And I'm like, well, what did you do to inspire yourself today? What did you do to generate that motivation from within, rather than giving that advice to everyone else first and then feeling kind of empty on the inside? What did you do for yourself first? So I love that you start off by doing your own practice first before you sit there and you inspire others. This is, yeah. And I have another question from Karishma, and I'm so curious to know this. How do you stay inspired in the face of rejection?
One of the hardest things we will all do as creatives. I won't be inspired in the face of rejection. And in fact, my Instagram, Inspired to Write, like, I am a very motivated, ambitious writer, but a lot of the time I'm not inspired. And in the face of rejection, I've got ADHD. Like, I'm rejection sensitive, baby. Yeah. I hate to be misunderstood or not seen. Like, there's just something that makes me insane. Like, I'm like, you don't understand. A very big emotional response for me, rejection. And not just rejection, but silence, when I'm ignored or when like something doesn't resonate. I'm like, oh, it's borderline traumatic.
Yeah.
And it is for many, many artists. because we're sensitive. That's why we're brilliant.
Yeah.
We're going to find that hard. And you just don't have to be inspired in the moment of rejection. The problem is that when we like continue on bringing that rejection with us into our future and carrying it around as a weight, we are allowed to grieve rejection. We're allowed to be upset. Like, and please do. And it will always become a part of you in some way. Like, this is a
Yeah.
part of your story. But a lot of creatives make it a central part of their identity. Like, I am rejected. I am the rejected artist. And that's when it's very hard to create anything in the future with
Yes.
that sort of perspective. So when I am rejected, when I move through the silence, I remind myself that this is a rite of passage for anyone who does brave things.
Yes.
I let myself get upset. I let myself get frustrated. Like, I'm a big crier. I'll cry. I might even
Mhm.
take a few days. But then what the fuck am I going to do? Like, stop? Like, I'm an
Yeah.
artist. I'm here to create. Let's go. And I get that like little bit of a flame within me. And I think it can be a helpful like reignition. It's not a very good long-term fuel, but that fuck you, let's go
Yeah.
energy can
Fuck
be a
you
helpful,
energy.
yeah. Like, it's just
Yes.
a little bit of a spark to get you back into that consistency.
That is so beautifully said. I always say this, like, if you're being rejected, that means you're putting yourself out there.
If you haven't been rejected lately, what the fuck are you up to?
Yeah. If you haven't
Like,
failed, if someone hasn't said no to you, like, I want to say this as a visibility coach, I'm obviously always looking at my own visibility. What am I doing to be seen today? And so one of my visibility practices is, Amie, is that I reach out to people that I'm inspired by and I invite them on the podcast, which is exactly what I did with you. So do you have any sort of visibility practices? I know you're already putting your work out there to be seen.
mm.
There are other things that you intentionally do to become more visible as an artist and as an author?
I'd be so interested in your thoughts on this because I've been navigating this very intense time of like, how do I become the most visible so that this
Yeah.
book baby can do the best she can? And so I've been experimenting with many different ways of like getting attention and getting visibility.
Yeah.
And initially, I was like, well, I'm just going to approach a lot of people that I want to be on their podcasts. It was
Mhm.
particularly a podcast drive. So I'm DMing like Mel Robbins, I'm DMing the big boys. I'm like, let's just go for it.
Yeah.
That really didn't work for me. Not just in that I didn't get any reply, but it didn't empower me as an artist. And I didn't like the feeling of, to me, it felt like low energy or low vibrational for me at that
Yeah.
time. And so I pivoted that into, I'm going to be absolutely fucking magnificent. I'm going to be putting out the most profoundly beautiful pieces of writing, and I'm going to wait for them to see me. And I truly am very unsure of this approach. I don't know if there's a balance, and I'd be so interested in your perspective on this.
I feel like it's a balance of both. Like, I think it's good that you're in the habit of reaching out to the big boys. Like, I think we
Mm,
all need to be, because we all need to face that rejection or that silence.
yes.
It's just a part of it. So I would say keep reaching out to the big dogs. But I love what you're saying is that your focus is on yourself. Like, how can I
Mm.
put out profound, excellent pieces of writing and work and let them find me? Right. So,
Let them find me.
but it's a both and, right? Because you're saying
Yeah.
let them find me, but you're also putting yourself out there. So I like your strategy and I like your approach.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think it feels very magnetic and it feels in my power to focus on what I can create and what I
Yeah.
can put out there.
Mhm.
Whereas just asking, and what to me it felt like it wasn't, but it felt a bit like begging. Like, can you
Yes.
see me? Can you please see me? It didn't feel good for me. And that's a part of my rejection sensitivity. That's a part of not, why don't they understand that I have so much cool stuff to say? Like, there's that little inner child that's getting shitty
Yes.
with the rejection. But yeah, it's been a really interesting time of balancing, like, how do I want to be visible and how am I going to approach being visible?
And I think the question that I often ask myself, I ask myself this question every day, and maybe this might help, is like, how do I want to approach being seen today? What does that actually look like for me? Does
Yeah,
that
I
look
like
like,
that.
yeah, does that look like I reach out to Amie today? Like, I saw one of your posts and I hadn't taken visibility action yet. And I saw one of your posts and I'm like, fuck this. I'm just going to DM her. And you literally messaged me back within probably, I don't even remember how soon it was, but you messaged me back quite quickly. And I was like, okay, this shit works. I'm just going to reach out to her. And she wrote back. And of course, not everyone says yes. But I think what I want my audience to really get into is like asking yourself that question every day. What can I do to put myself out there? What can I do to be
Mm,
seen and not be ashamed of wanting to be seen?
mm,
Because that is human nature. And I love that you've reiterated that so many times on this episode, Amie.
mm.
I have two last questions for you. So, what advice would you give to artists hesitant about sharing their work? Obviously, get your book. We need your art.
Number one,
Get your
buy
book.
my book.
Buy your
Number
book.
two,
Yeah.
number two, you need to get over yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean that so gently and so respectfully, but it's time to zoom out and realize that this isn't going to end everything. It's okay if people don't fully understand what you're doing. It's okay if that person from high school says, whoa, who do they think they are? Like, that's worth it. We are so obsessed with maintaining our image and how we are being perceived that we refuse to do the most beautiful acts of courage. And sharing your art, putting your art out there is an incredible life-changing thing to do. It is hard, but it is so generous and so magical. And so many of us aren't doing it because we're worried about what other people are going to think. And so with the most, like, I'm saying this so gently, just get over yourself and share your art.
Okay. I mean, I couldn't have said it better, right? I think I loved how direct you were, because I think my listeners really need to hear this, right? Get out of your heads, get into your bodies, get out of yourself, work through these fears by putting yourself out there. It is a muscle that you're building. Visibility is just a muscle that you will learn to strengthen and build over time. So when it comes to you being seen, Amie, just reflecting on your journey and everything you've been through, and now you're in a season of high visibility, just reflecting on all of that, what do you wish you had known about being seen?
I think it comes right back around to it's okay that you really want to be seen.
Yeah.
And I think that would be what I would tell a younger version of myself. It's okay. It's all right. It's not bad. It's beautiful that you want to be seen. It's beautiful that you want to connect. I might, you know what, she got there on her own. I was about to say, I might tell her that she needs to see herself first and she needs to understand her value first. And I think maybe this is something that a lot of us get stuck into, is like, we want to be seen so that we can have that validation, but we've never validated ourselves. And for me, my beautiful journey of visibility was no one was seeing me. And because no one was seeing me, because I had absolutely no impact, I was like trying so hard and I just had no way to make the world see me. I had to see myself first. And I had to realize that had so much to give. I had to choose myself. I had to put myself out there by myself. I had to take up space by myself.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that there was that order, because I think a lot of us, we want to be seen. Then we do get seen by the world and we get external validation from the world. But then we still feel this hole. And it's like, why isn't this filling me up? Like, I'm getting so much attention, but I don't feel good. And it's because we skipped a step. And we never saw ourselves. We never saw our own value. We never saw our own magic. We never realized how wonderful we were first.
So I actually have this on my Instagram profile. It says, see yourself and be seen. And I truly believe that most of us have it backwards. The order, right? Like, we want to be seen first. And we're like, when we get that, then we'll feel better. But I love that you're preaching to the choir right here by saying, see yourself first, even if you have to do it alone. And the last question that I ask all my guests, Amie, is there anything left unsaid that you need to say out loud, or that you want to say out loud?
Delicious question. You must get some delicious answers
from
that. I love it.
Yeah.
Very recently I said something out loud that I hadn't said for decades, and I'd been really wanting to say it, and it was so liberating. And if you'd asked me this a few weeks ago, that would have been the thing in my head, and maybe I wouldn't have said it, but I finally built up the courage to have this very big conversation about how I didn't ever want to have a job and how I didn't ever really want to work. And this felt like a very taboo topic, but I had this stubbornness in me that said, I don't want to work for someone else doing work that is meaningless, that doesn't give me purpose, that doesn't delight me. I want a life of meaning and delight and art. And I felt a huge amount of shame for that. And so I wrote this essay about how our work culture is pretty fucked up, and we have a veneration and a toil of meaningless drudgery, and we need it to change. Like, I'm speaking to entrepreneurs here, so a lot of you are going to have felt the same way. Like, you wanted more from your life. You didn't want to spend all of your life working in a space that didn't delight you. We spend so much of our time working. Like, why does it have to be shitty?
Yeah.
But for me, that was a huge source of shame, and getting to start having this conversation about actually, like, we deserve work that delights us has been so liberating. So that has been something I've needed to say out loud for a very long time, and I'm very proud of myself for having recently done so.
I remember when you posted that on your Instagram, when you talked about, and I was just like, yes, I've had 2 jobs in my life, one as a TV host and one I worked at CVS, which is a pharmacy. I got fired from both jobs. And it just made me feel so good. I mean, once again, I mean, guys, you guys got to follow Amie. You got to get her book. She is the permission slip that I think we all need as adults to really claim our identity as artists, whatever that looks like for ourselves. I want Amie, let people know where they can find you, where they can order your book, all that good stuff.
All right. So you can find me as we said before, you can find me at Inspired to Write. I also have a Substack. It's just Amie Mcnee. And then for my book, baby, you can get We Need Your Art wherever it is you like to buy your book. So whether you want to trot down to your independent bookstore and just ask them to get a copy in, or whether you want to go online, like you'll find her basically anywhere. And though she's not out right now, I don't know when this podcast will come out. Do you know?
It'll probably come out in about a week or two.
Okay, cool. So it will still be pre-ordering, but just so you know, when you pre-order a book for an author, it is the greatest blessing, and I consider it a personal favor. So pre-ordering my book, baby, truly means the world to me. But I also hope that when you get this book, baby, that I get the opportunity to take care of you as you do brave things. And I hope this book is the start of an era of wild and unrelenting creativity for you.
Beautiful. And so once again, the name of Amie's book is We Need Your Art. Stop fucking around and make something, y'all. Stop sitting on your asses and saying you want to create something and not creating it. So I really hope, and I know that this conversation is going to inspire so many people to make their art, say it out loud, stop fucking around and make something. And I just want to say, Amie, thank you so much for taking the time for being on here today.
So grateful. I mean, just from the minute you started speaking, I'm like, yeah, you're my kind of person. I'm so grateful for you.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful day. And everyone, if you love this episode, subscribe, leave a review. And if you were inspired by it, send me a DM. Let me know at My Name is Vasavi how you enjoyed the episode. Let Amie know that you enjoyed the episode. And most importantly, pre-order her book. I'll catch you all next time.
If you love today's episode, then say it out loud. Subscribe, leave a review, and come say hi over on Instagram at My Name is Vasavi. Until next time, say it out loud.